Hey love bugs! I am coming at you today with, this is actually one of my favorite topics because the stuff I'm going to be sharing with you today is really relevant for whatever stage of relating you're in, whether you're single and dating somebody new, whether you're in a long-term partnership, whether you're having sex or you're avoiding sex or you want more sex. This is actually going to help you avoid kind of like one of the more significant landmines and pitfalls that I consistently see clients falling into, places where they get stuck. So I'm going to be talking today about how to make sure that the sex you're having is sex that you want to be having by expressing needs and desires and boundaries, and also how to get comfortable with changing the pace and changing the orientation at any moment. So I see that a few of you are popping on. Welcome. Go ahead and put something in the comments or just hit that little like button, that heart button. If you follow me for more than a minute, you know that I'm a big believer and a big fan of appreciation. Appreciation, it's not just that it feels good to receive, it actually feels good to express. Hey, Bonnie, thank you. It feels good to express because when I'm expressing appreciation, I'm even more present to the appreciation that I'm feeling. So it's just kind of like this big love bubble that I get to soak in. All right, so let's get to it. So one of the places that, thanks love, that people get just really stuck is this notion that if once you've set down on a certain pathway, that you are obligated to stay on that journey. It's a little bit like saying once you walk into a restaurant, you're obligated to eat there. But you might actually look at the menu and go, no, this isn't quite what I was in the mood for. Or they might seat you at a table and you're like, oh, it's really too noisy here. I don't actually want to be here. You can make up at any moment along the way, no matter where you are, the course of what unfolds, the direction of what unfolds, the pace of what unfolds. You are the driver in this. Now, of course, part of what makes lovemaking really great is the element of surrender. But what I'm going to be sharing with you today are the things that actually help create the container into which you can surrender. Because surrender only happens when I'm 100% in. When I'm not leaving any part of myself out, when I'm not in conflict about what I'm saying yes to, when I'm not uncertain or ambivalent or ambiguous about the who or the what or the time or the place. That is what invites surrender, is being all in. So let's get started. I'm going to actually take you through kind of like a number of different things that all contribute to the container of love play, feeling like it's one that you feel really safe in and really free to express what is true for you moment by moment. So be sure as you pop on, make sure to say hello. Okay, so the first one is that the information about what I'm available for, what I'm a yes to, what I have a boundary around, what I'm a no to, all of that lives in my body. Now, the only exception to that is if you're somebody where you have a really strong developed habit of stepping over what you know feels good to you because in the moment you can't feel it. Like maybe you have a history of your boundaries being violated or your boundaries not really being honored and listened to. It's going to take some time for you to really be able to feel in the moment what a yes feels like and what a no feels like. So if that's the case for you, it's actually really great to decide some of this ahead of time. Like these are the people for whom it's good to decide, I'm not actually going to have sex with the man I'm dating until at least the third date because I want to know him at least 3 times before I make that decision, right? It's absolutely true that the more I trust my own guidance system, the more fluid my boundaries can be because I'm getting like moment by moment updates as opposed to having to rely on some external structure. So does that make sense, you guys? When you catch the replay, I really want to kind of like spotlight, I want to highlight that distinction Because of course we want to really be in our body for guidance, but sometimes connecting the dots so that you can do that takes a little bit of practice. So the first one is being connected to your body so that you can use it as your most reliable compass and your most reliable guidance system for what are you feeling? What are your desires? What are you in the mood for? How do you know if you just want a really like yummy cuddle up and just kind of like be all yummy and squishy together, or if you're really in the mood for some hot sex, right? That's information that's in your body. And then just after that is giving yourself permission to acknowledge what you desire and what you want, and to be able to take the shame out of that so that you have the permission granted to express it. There's nothing inherently good or bad about a desire. It's just something that you feel. It's really like having a preference for a certain kind of food and not liking other kind of food. There's no reason to have a judgment around it. The more you can take yourself off the hook and just welcome whatever it is that your desire is. Desire doesn't mean necessarily that you're going to act it out, or that you're going to act it out in the moment that you have the desire. And I'm going to be talking a little bit more about this in a moment. So the other one is to give yourself permission to really honor your boundaries. So a couple of examples of how this actually looks. When I'm dating a man and I want to start to get to know him on a physical plane, but I'm not interested or ready to have sex with him, a lot of times what I'll say is, I'll talk about that I really enjoy cuddling, that's a really nice way to kind of sense chemistry and to get familiar with the body and to get a little bit familiar with how we feel together. That's actually not something that I expect him to know. I don't necessarily assume we're going to be on the same page about that. For some people, cuddling is kind of a euphemism for sex. So I spell it out. I talk about what I really enjoy about cuddling. I talk about that cuddling the first few times might be with all of our clothes on or with a certain amount of our clothes on. And I kind of like to sort of make sure that we're in the same neighborhood and kind of on the same page about what we're both in the mood for. Now, how this looks with couples is I will often suggest that they make time that's specifically for non-sexual intimate connection. So that can be clothes off, belly to belly, cuddling. It can be spooning. It can be, hey, I've got 10 minutes. Let's leave our clothes on, but let's go spoon, or let's go cuddle, or let's do 10 minutes of massage. Kind of like fleshing it out and having some parameters around it actually gives more freedom, because there isn't that tension about what if one person wants something and I want something else. You create a container, and then you live inside of that container and you uphold the boundaries and agreements that you have decided. And that builds a lot of trust, and it also can be really hot to stay within a defined parameter and kind of stay within the decisions and the agreements. And so you want to ask about each other's. You don't want to assume that you are on the same page, but you want to ask about each other's. And if there's any place where there's confusion or misunderstanding, check it out. So it might be like, okay, so what I'm hearing is you really want us to stay clothed and you want the touch to stay more sensual than sexual. Or, so what I'm hearing is you really want to take a 10-minute nap with me, and even if one of us gets turned on, you want to just stay in the we're resting together realm. Or, so what I'm hearing is that you're really hot and you really want a quickie, right? So those are just kind of some like examples. Another thing that is really, really helpful is we are kind of trained and conditioned to believe that arousal has to be a trajectory to sex, rather than arousal is just a series and a set of feelings and emotions and energy that's moving through the body. It's a little bit like if you're sitting on the beach and you see this set of waves. Does that mean that you have to run into the beach and ride the waves just because you like to surf? Or does it mean that sometimes you can sit on the beach and really enjoy watching the waves, feeling the movement of the waves in your body, enjoying the landscape and the beauty and the fact that there are waves and that there will be waves the next time you want to go ride a wave. Turn on and arousal becomes a lot more fun and a lot less pressurized when it's something you can enjoy for its own sake, both your own turn on and arousal and your partner's turn on and arousal. When it doesn't have to be wedded or attached to an agenda, or this is what it means is going to happen, or this is what I assume is going to happen, or this is what I expect is going to happen. Turn on can just be a place to be. It can be a place to land. So what that means is, let's say that you are dating somebody and you decide that you want to have a clothes-on makeout session and one or both of you gets really hot. The choices are you going to be a slave to that moment of arousal, even though the rational parts of you have decided, I don't actually want to go there right now. This isn't somebody that I know well. I don't want to jump in that deeply while I'm getting to know them. So it's like, how can you feel a lot of arousal and stay mindful and choiceful? The way to do that is to allow the experience of arousal to be joyful and delicious and pleasurable on its own, without it being like that you have to get in the car and drive somewhere. So I really, really, really want to help connect this dot. So if you're listening now and it makes sense to you, or you're catching the replay and you like it, go ahead and put something in the comments or hit the heart button, because this is an area that's often kind of murky for people. And then I hear from them, this is something I hear a lot from women that are in couples. They say, I really want to be more affectionate and more demonstrative with my partner, but I feel like every time we get skin to skin or belly to belly, or I give him a hug and he gets turned on, that there's this expectation that it's going to go somewhere. And what I always say to that is that the more the turn on can be celebrated, it's something that is really worth celebrating. The more it can be celebrated without all of the other expectations and demands and agenda about what it means, the more both of you can just enjoy that moment. And when I work with couples and it's like I help the man, or sometimes it's the woman, but in this case we'll just say it's the man, I help the man just like really enjoy that feeling of being next to his woman and feeling turned on and feeling aroused and delighting in her body and delighting in the sensations he's feeling in his body, without the pressure of this has to go somewhere, or there's an expectation, or I'm going to be frustrated if I don't come or release or do this or do that. And a lot of times, when a man learns that he can feel intense amount of desire and arousal, and that it doesn't have to mean that anything in particular has to happen. There's a lot of freedom there. Okay, what else I got for you? So this is how you do that. You give yourself permission to change the pace, to change your mind, to go slower, to push the pause button, to speak what you are wanting or desiring at any moment. And that you just kind of decide that that's actually part of your play, that you can use your words. So an example of that is, well, I actually just kind of gave one, but let's say that, you don't have that much time and you don't really want to have a quickie. So you're going to lay down, and maybe you're a couple, but you decide, okay, we're going to have actually a clothes-on makeout session. And you actually kind of like stick to that. And if things change at any point, you can just kind of like say, okay, can we just like pause? Or we're going a little bit faster than my body can actually go right now. I'd love to slow down. Or I'm noticing that one of us is going much faster, or you're going much faster than I am actually available for right now. I think oftentimes couples, whether they're couples for the evening or for the moment or for 20 or 30 years, there's this fear or this belief that somehow interrupting the play is going to like be a turnoff, or it's going to put a kibosh on the energy, what it actually does is it builds trust and it builds connection. Because if one of you is even slightly out there, like not feeling all the way in, then you're not fully there to play with or to be played with. What makes sex really hot and really good is two people who are all in, or however many people you like to have in the mix, but for now we'll just assume it's two. When you're both all in, that's when the magic happens. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. There's a lot here, and I want to get your questions. I want to know what of this feels familiar for you, what feels kind of like new information or new territory. What I don't want you to do is just watch and not say anything or not leave a comment. I want to know that this is resonating with you. So I look forward to hearing from you as you catch the replay. And for those of you who are new to me, my name is Lisa Rose. I host this group. I'm a sex, love, and dating coach, and my company is Deeper Love, Better Sex. And that's what I want for you. Talk to you soon. Bye.